Okay, so on the next few episodes on additives, I'm going to discuss the nutrients that may be added to support yeast during fermentation. In winemaking, yeast nutrients, they're essential to support healthy fermentation, and they prevent issues like stuck fermentations or off flavors. And the different types of yeast nutrients include diammonium phosphate, yeast hulls, and fermade products, or those are the ones I'm going to talk about anyway. Diammonium phosphate, also known as DAP, is one of the most common nutrients added during fermentation. It supplies the yeast with nitrogen and phosphorus, both of which are essential in promoting a healthy fermentation. But I just want to back up a bit. For yeast to convert sugar into alcohol, they require nutrients, and one of the most important nutrients that they need is nitrogen. Nitrogen is essential for yeast growth and metabolism during fermentation. When nitrogen is insufficient, fermentations, they can slow down or they can stop altogether. From my experience, low nitrogen levels in fermentations are often linked to low nitrogen availability in the vineyard soil where the grapes are grown. Soil nitrogen, along with factors like grape variety and vineyard management practices, they play a significant role in determining the nitrogen content in the grapes and subsequently the juice or must. So I guess what I'm saying is that the wine's made in the vineyard. Jokes! I know that DAP, diammonium phosphate, has a really scary name, but I mean, honestly, guys, it's no scarier than the ingredients in your nacho cheese Doritos or whatever is your junk food of choice. Mine is cheap grocery store milk chocolate chips and semi-chocolate chips that I mix up in a little bowl at the end of the night after dinner, and I eat about 40 chocolate chips every single day. So when used in the right amounts, DAP, it's entirely metabolized by yeast, and there should be no residual DAP in the wine. There is no evidence that I could find anyway of DAP being an allergen. If you know of any, I'm sure there's someone out there always is, going to raise their hand. Let me know. Because DAP is a powder, the main risk involved in using it as an additive is to the winemaker, because inhaling fine particles like this can cause some lung irritation. Okay, so that's the short version. If you're a wine geek and you want to know more, then keep listening. If not, stop here. So to start at the beginning, when the grapes come into the winery, they are processed. Prior to fermentation, winemakers will often send a juice sample to a lab for analysis. This will help determine what products may be needed to be used during winemaking. This analysis might include the pH, the titratable acidity, the Brix, the glucose fructose, malic acid, potassium, and YAN. In reference to DAP, the analysis we are concerned about here is YAN, or yeast assimilable nitrogen. YAN is the total amount of nitrogen available to yeast during fermentation, and it's critical because yeast need nitrogen for growth, metabolism, and efficient sugar to alcohol conversion. A deficiency in YAN can lead to a stuck or sluggish fermentation, and guys, nobody wants a stuck fermentation. A stuck fermentation means that all of the sugars have not been converted to alcohol and the yeast have died. Sadly, that can pave the way for a variety of wine faults to develop, including, but not limited to, I don't remember everything all the time. Hydrogen sulfide, right? A rotten egg aroma. Brettanomyces, this is a rogue yeast that results in barnyard medicinal or band-aid aromas, and volatile acidity, which is a nail polish aroma. This will vary, but let's just say for simplicity's sake, and on average, and I'll post a lab analysis, if YAN is less than 200 milligrams per liter, a winemaker may want to add DAP, but this depends on a lot of factors, including potential alcohol, Brix, yeast strain, and even personal winemaking experience and trials, philosophy. I don't really want to get too in the weeds here, so I think what I'm going to do is just post a link from Scott Labs on the various levels of nitrogen in unfermented juice as it relates to DAP use. Okay, so that was the second level of geek. If you want a third level of geek, keep going. If not, cut your losses. Geek level 3. In preparing for this video, because believe it or not, I don't just talk out of my ass all the time, Peter and I got deep into the weeds on DAP and fermade products, which is the next video. I talked to two of my favorite Santa Barbara County winemakers about their thoughts on adding DAP to a nitrogen poor fermentation. I won't say who they are because, you never want to call anybody out for doing anything. It's just crazy environment out there. So compared to what ETS, an ecological lab and supplier of winemaking products, recommends, they both think that 200 milligrams per liter is on the high side of low, and that ferments might not actually require any DAP when the YAN is 200 milligrams per liter. One quoted a French winemaker from the University of Bordeaux who uses 63 as his low and 130 as his high YAN. And personally, I'm not super comfortable with those numbers, but that's what's so wonderful about winemaking. One size does not fit all. And if you put in your 10,000 hours, you eventually figure out what works for your ferments. The second reason some winemakers, including me and Peter, don't love DAP is that it's essentially junk food for yeast, right? It's like being really hungry and eating a Snickers bar. I mean, there is a time and a place for that, I guess. But there are other products where amino acids / protein and vitamins will help sustain a yeast population for a longer period of time with fewer additions. And we're going to talk about those products next time. So that's all for today's wine additives tutorial. More yeast nutrients to follow. Fascinating.